Savvy Business Radio, drawing out the best from our guests with our host, Christina Nichman.
Today we have Josselyne Herman-Saccio joining us on Savvy Business Radio to talk about the language of being. For over 37 years, Josselyne has led programs for Landmark Worldwide, an international training program and development company. To find out more about Josselyne's work and Landmark, visit landmarkworldwide.com. Hi, Josselyne. Welcome to Savvy Business Radio. How are you today?
I'm great. Thanks so much for having me.
Oh, you betcha. I am super excited to have you share today what it means to be human, how to have a real dialogue with each other, family, friends, neighbors, colleagues. There's a lot of strife we're seeing out in the world, families fighting against families, politicians arguing, and not really having real conversations where we're listening to each other. It's one thing to talk, and another thing to really connect and hear the other person. But you're going to share with us today how we can really get connected and have a real conversation with each other. And I'm really excited about this. And this episode is going to be called The Language of Being. Share with the audience a little bit about your background, what brought you into this niche.
Sure. I've been leading programs for Landmark Worldwide since 1991, and those programs are designed to empower and enable people to fulfill on what matters to them. Mm-hmm. And whether it be in business or family or community or really in making a difference in the world. And a lot of what matters to us is our interactions with other people. Obviously, mm-hmm. that's our life. When we mm-hmm. talk about our life, it's really our relationship with other people. So I've been, involved in this conversation about what it is to be a human being for at least that long, and even longer, because I was doing work on my own before I started leading for Landmark as well. But really, since 1991. Working with thousands and thousands of people to transform for them what's possible in their humanity, which sounds a little highfalutin, but it really is your relationships with people,
Yeah, and actually, and I don't think people, or a lot of people think about this a lot, but really it all stems from relationships. It doesn't matter if you're talking about your business, a romantic relationship or friendship, they all stem from relationships. And if you don't have a good handle on building solid relationships, it's going to harm every part of your life. For people who don't know, share, what is Landmark?
Landmark is a worldwide organization that runs courses and seminars and all sorts of programs that are really designed to empower and enable people to fulfill on what matters to them, what's important to them. Mm-hmm. So whether, again, in the area of family, community, business, career, making a difference, all those mm-hmm. different areas that comprise our lives as human beings.
Yeah, and for some people, there are different core values, and I think that's important for anyone, regardless of where you are in your life, to get really clear on what are your core values so that you can live by them. Because if you're just going to willy-nilly go through life, you're going to be feeling like you're never quite fitting in and living your best life because you have no core, nothing tying you to what's deeply in your core and what's most important to you.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a question for people throughout their life because they inherit values mm-hmm. from their family or their culture, but they aren't necessarily the author of those values. Mm-hmm. And a lot of what we do in the curriculum for living at Landmark is allow people to really author who they are and what their life's about rather than just inheriting something from the past.
Mm. Ooh, that is such an important point that you just made there, because I started going into self-reflection probably in my late 30s. I joined the self-help group and I just started hearing concepts I never even thought of. I thought, wow, you can think like that or be like this. And it just blew my mind. But most of us kind of just go to school, get what we're given by, the people who love us in school, our family, our friends, and we just carry it about and say, okay, that's me, without really going deeper and say, is this truly what I feel is most important to me, my core values? And then for me, when I started to have huge health issues, I started to question what's important in life. Because for me at that time, it was like if I reached a pinnacle of being a VP of some corporation, I've made it. well, then what? I'm a VP of a corporation. Now what? So at that point,
it'll be the next carrot that you're chasing. That's the inherent the inherent nature of being human is to be chasing something, a someday kind of life.
Exactly. And then instead of living it right now, right here, we're just chasing it. And then what I find is a great opportunity is that we'll have these crises come up. For me, it was my health issues that will just kind of put a standstill, and you'll have to reflect and go like, okay, now what's important to me? Now what do I want in life? Is this what I want my next 20, 30, 40 years to be like? Or will I maybe not even be here for that because I don't know where I'm going or what's important to me?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of people have an external circumstance like you did with your health where it wakes you up. And, you know, thank God that happens for some people. I mean, hopefully it doesn't end up, you know, leading to something terminal in terms of your health, but it does take sometimes somebody dying or a heart attack. But what we do at Landmark is we wake people up without having to have those kind of emergencies.
Which I love.
You know, from the external world. Yeah, me too, because then you get to create that kind of urgency versus have the circumstances create an emergency, which is a very different kind of life.
Yeah. And then what I found for me, at least in the beginning of my self-discovery here, is that I was coming from a place of fear and, oh my gosh, I got to figure this out like yesterday because my life depends on it. And you're not as productive as when you're able to create the urgency as when now it's dire. Yeah, that's a good point. I think you're absolutely right. Yeah. And now let's talk about the miscommunications we're having with ourselves, family, friends, and everyone. There's been a lot of strife with the politics out there and people having their opinions. And it's interesting when I get people sitting down and I say, tell me what's really, really important to you. When it comes down to it, what's really most important to most people is their loved ones, their children, their family, their husbands, their wives, the ones they love. And all the strife and these opinions matter less than the life we want to lead with our loved ones and have, you know, a good life with them, a healthy life, a loving life. But we get stuck in these crazy conversations. How do we begin to have a healthy conversation with each other?
Well, I think the first thing people need to do is notice how automatically they just go through life versus living life. And that kind of automaticity of living as your opinions, you know, you have a little voice in your head that's constantly judging and evaluating everything and everyone, including yourself. You know, you look in the mirror, oh, I ate too much last night. I didn't eat enough. Oh, I shouldn't have had that glass of wine or whatever it is. And you do the same thing about people. You know, they'll be talking to you and you're not really listening 100% to what they're saying. You're listening to what that little voice in your head is saying about what they're saying. Like, I agree with that. I disagree with that. You know, that's right. That's wrong. Oh, I know when I get an opening in this conversation, I'm going to put my point in and shoot holes through that or whatever, you know, is there. But that's all automatic. And that's something that people don't realize. They think that little voice is them. And they even say things like, I have to listen to my inner voice. It's like, why? That little voice is not your friend. You know, it's mostly creating all the havoc and drama in your life is created by that, not what's actually happening. And and the first, you know, step is to really just notice it as what it is and how much you have nothing to say about it. It's automatic all day long, never stops, and you have no vote on what it says.
I love that you mentioned this, Josselyne, because I just started reading this week. I don't know if you've read it, The Untethered Soul, The Journey Beyond Yourself. And I never thought of that. I thought, oh, well, you know, I want to get in and listen to my inner voice that's chatting all day long and never shuts up. But never, ever. And it was interesting reading The Untethered Soul is the author says, do you realize that he takes both sides? It takes both sides. It takes the positive, the negative. It's like the kind of angel devil on your shoulder, but it doesn't care which side you go with. It just constantly wants to be at battle with itself. And you're stuck in the middle instead of realizing that voice is not who you are. It is just
most people live their life or actually go through life. I shouldn't say live their life because there's no living involved in that, as if that is who they are. So because they can't distinguish between that and them, it controls life. It is the thing. It's not even you. It is talking and you just are a victim of it. I don't like to say victim, but you're at the whim of it, I would say. because it's also the good stuff. I mean, it's good, bad, right, wrong. All of that is part of it. So even those thoughts you have that are like, oh, this is good, and I really want to get back to this, and oh, now I'm a VP, and what's next, and all of that is all being generated by that automatic little voice that you have no vote over. That's the joke of it. I mean, what a waste. You spend your life on meaningless garbage that you have nothing to say about.
Yeah. So where do you help people when you start dealing and talking to them and helping them through the process? Do you help them notice that, hey, there's a thing on, but don't just take relationship with it? How do you help your people that you work with deal with it?
In our core program, which is the entry program to the curriculum for living, it's called the Landmark Forum. Okay. And one of the distinctions or tools that we give people and train people in the forum is something we call the already always listening, which is basically what we were just talking about. That's the Cliff Note version of, a 2.5-hour conversation or, a 3.5-day conversation. Yeah. But it really to start to begin to master hearing who's talking at any given moment. Is it that voice or is it me? Mm-hmm. Like my creation, like by choice, because you don't have a choice over that little voice. So that takes practice and discipline and being able to discern that little voice, or the already always listening as we call it, from who you really are. Mm-hmm. And because we spend so much of our life in that sea of opinion, it's very rare that we see anything out of it. And if you go back to what you started this conversation with about, we're fighting with our friends and politicians are fighting with each other, countries are fighting with each other. I mean, all of it is inside of some conversation about what's right, what's wrong, what's true, what's false, what's good, what's bad, what's the, what should we do, what shouldn't we do, what should they do, what shouldn't they do? And all of that is just automatic. So, as a human race, we have gotten to a point where, we've had breakthroughs in science and technology, and more people are being educated than ever before. And in many places, circumstances are better in the workforce in many countries. Mm-hmm. But for the most part, we haven't really had a breakthrough in what it is to be human.
Wow. So you in that, at least in human development, we're lagging. Do you feel kind of, and I don't know, this is just my perspective, I feel like all the technology in our lives are awesome. It's made our lives easier in a fashion. My great grandma had to work her little buns off and really do a lot of physical labor. She ran a restaurant, and it was really a tough, physically, mentally hard life. And now our lives are so, we want to learn something, just Google it. Yeah. But on the other hand, I feel that technology has also made us so disconnected from ourselves and from each other.
Well, it's an illusion of connection because you can reach a lot of people all at once, but what's reaching those people are your opinions, not who you are. So if you read somebody's Facebook feed, it's not their authentic self for the most part. It's the pretense the front that they show people.
Yeah,
I mean,
the mask.
Most people's posts are not exactly what's actually going on with them. It's more like, the way they want to be perceived so as to look good, which is a lot of what that little voice is about. That whole thing is driven so that you look good and avoid looking bad and don't be embarrassed or look smart or whatever your version of looking good is, which is an incredibly constraining life, because if your life is about, avoiding looking bad or taking risks, you live a small life.
Wow. This reminds me, Josselyne, I was a little kid and we used to have wonderful Christmases at my grandma's where all of our cousins and aunts would get together, like 30, 40 of us, and the kids, the parents. We had so much fun. And I remember there was one couple, my cousin and their husband, they looked like the happiest family. Now, my family fought a lot. So I used to look at them and be jealous, going, I wish my parents were like them. They're so happy. And, that's the mask they wore. And years later, I found that they were having a lot of marriage problems and things were tough and they were not happy. But it's interesting. We create these masks. Then it existed as well. It's just that it wasn't all over social media. You weren't broadcasting as loudly as perhaps we're doing it now. It was just maybe your inner circle that saw these masks. But we've always wore them. How do we begin to peel off the mask and make it okay? Because for me, I've started to peel off my mask the last couple of years, and it makes some people uncomfortable because they want you to stay in the status quo. Some of my friends are like, hey, what's up with you? You're being a little not yourself. I'm like, no, actually, this is myself.
Yeah,
But,
exactly.
But it's
like
kind
a
of scary.
conspiracy for mediocrity. You know, we're all in this conspiracy. Like, you don't call me on mine, I won't call you on yours. We'll all just kind of go through life this way.
Mm-hmm.
But people like you who are committed to actually living life, not just going through life, you know, you engender the courage to be authentic about those areas where you've been putting up a mask or a front or pretending that it's one way when it's really another way. And you know, one of the things we do in the curriculum for living at Landmark is we give people access to that kind of courage and access to the tools to be able to engender that kind of courage so that you can really be who you really are and give up the front, like cough up the fur ball. And the moment you do, there's space for the other person too. Like you say, I've been pretending that I know what I'm doing at work when in fact I'm really afraid that you know, I don't, and that I might get fired. Do you know how many people are walking around like that but never say it?
Oh,
I mean, it's like 90% of the people at your job are walking around pretending they have it all together. You know, it's absurd. So go ahead.
I was just going to say, one of the first things I did when I started my business, my consulting business, is I started a blog called 101 Mistakes and What I Learned in Business. It was really my corporate life and all the mistakes I had seen me make over the years and how I learned different lessons from each of them. And when I first posted it, some of my closest friends and family members were like, are you crazy? You're never going to get any clients. No one's ever going to want to work with you when they see all your mistakes. But actually the opposite happened. I began to realize that people are like, hey, I do that too. Or I've had that same sort of thing happen to me, but I've never told anyone. And I think you're right. This kind of conspiracy, I won't tell on your stuff if you don't tell on mine. It's really hurting us. And I think we have to start coming together in a respectful way, telling the truth about ourselves and what we see, but not in a kind of mean way. Because you can tell the truth, but without kind of being mean about it.
Well, most people think telling the truth is vomiting their opinion on people, which is not the same thing, okay? That's like, you know, I have to be authentic with you. I don't like your hat. That's insane. That's not authenticity. So how we address it at Landmark is being authentic begins by being authentic about where you're being inauthentic. So it's always telling the truth about something about yourself, what you've been hiding, what you've been covering up. So it's not like, let me give you my view on you. It's, you know, let me tell you where I've been pretending our relationship is okay when really I'm not happy. I mean, do you know how much courage it takes to say that to your husband or wife? Wow. Most people just go through life like, okay, well, you know, our kids will grow older and this is better than being single and, you know, I'll just survive in this life. And, you know, it doesn't stop there. It's kind of like, you know, I've been pretending this when in fact it's been this other way. And the impact of pretending that is that I'm not authentic with you. I'm not the truth. I'm not my real self. And we end up just having this disconnected kind of relationship. It's surface. And, you know, what's missing this whole time is any sense of closeness or realness or, you know, power or joy, like real joy. And then we give the people the opportunity to invent. If they could have themselves be any way, would they be joyless and suppressed and disconnected? Probably not, right?
Yes.
But that's what gets created inside of that whole mess. So we give them the opportunity to create a whole new way of being. And I'm telling you, you know, Landmark is not just courses. This is about creating a new kind of human being on the planet. And if enough people are in that conversation, then maybe it won't be automatic that people pretend and hide and, you know, just live inside of that little voice. Maybe there can be a whole new reality for what it is to be human, which we're due for as a human race. It isn't working what we've got. Look at it.
Oh my gosh.
You know?
Yes, I couldn't agree more, Josselyne. And it's true. When I started to branch out and just say, hey, here's my, you know, my screw ups. I'm not perfect. And what it did for the people closest around me is they started to admit, okay, here's where I screw up, or I'm not comfortable,
Exactly.
I'm not being real. And it gives you permission to, for all of us to be, you know, remove our mask and just get real with each other. And again, I mean, real, not just, oh, I'm going to, you know, as you say, vomit your opinions.
Yes, exactly.
It comes from the place of here's my stuff. Yeah, not about it's all you. It's here's my stuff and I'm just sharing it with you. And since I started my business, there's some close friends at first who were like, I don't want to talk to you because you're like a different person, who've now started to say, how can I challenge myself and be my best person and not just go along with the status quo and just be miserable?
Yeah, because what I would say to you is, no, you used to be different. Now you're the same.
Ah, yeah. Yeah. I was hiding before. No one could see
Yeah.
the real me. And I felt like, no one will love the real me. I think that's a big fear of people.
Yep.
I think my deepest fear was I'll be rejected. No one will love me and I'll be all alone.
And that's that whole thing that I was referring to, like all that good, bad, right, wrong, how do I put up this front is all driven by, keeping up this front so that people don't reject you or judge you or whatever it is that looking good is for you. Maybe being loved is your version of that. Mm-hmm. And the thought that you could risk losing that keeps you behind the mask.
Yeah.
And it's suffocating. It is suffocating for people when they really tell the truth about it. And that's, the joy that I have to be able to work with people who are courageous enough to look at their life and stop the pretense for just a minute and actually look at what they really want, what's really important to them beyond the VP job or the status or the money or the comfort, because people are driven to have all of that, but ultimately they're not satisfied. Mm-hmm. They aren't.
No. And so where does someone begin? Like I was 36 and it was kind of like, well, it wasn't an accident because I don't believe in accidents, but someone invited me to this Central Park meeting where we're going to have self-discovery and self-help type thing. And I just started hearing about Tony Robbins at that time. I said, okay, I'll try it out. And I go there. I was blown away that we did certain exercise, psychological exercise, connecting with people in a really uncomfortable level. Talk about uncomfortable. Yes, I was, but I wanted more of it. It was like, oh my gosh, this is totally awesome. But it started to peel away the onion of myself and begin to explore myself, remember who I am, the real person. And
that's so great.
It's so awesome, but it's scary for someone to even think to do that. How do we, or what do you say to someone who's like, hey, I don't like where I am, but I'm kind of scared to go any further. Like, what is your advice for them?
Well, what I would tell them is to do the forum. That's what I would tell them to do. And I do all the time with people. And I say, listen, I know it's scary, but 3 seconds of courage can alter your future forever. Ooh. And it does.
Wow. What does it look like? How do they get involved and how do they sign up? How do they find out more about it?
Well, you can go to our website at landmarkworldwide.com, and there are schedules around the world. We're in 120 cities and 20 different countries, and we're translated into many different languages. And you can even view a video introduction, and it's interactive, so you can see what applies to you. But you can register online or call your local center and register. But you can find out a lot on our website, landmarkworldwide.com, schedules and press articles and videos and all of that.
It will, I mean, I didn't take Landmark, but what I did do, I think it was the best leap and jump I ever took. And it's amazing how scary it is just to get together with a bunch of strangers and talk or reveal yourself for the first time. One of the exercises we did that I thought was very phenomenal for me is they put us in a big circle and they put me in the middle. And then they said to everyone, just say the first word that comes out of your mouth when you're looking at that person. Now, it's really not about the other person. It's about what's going on with you inside. And that's what they're trying to get you to realize. It's not that you're judging the other person. It's about the stuff that's coming up for you when you look at them. And then we all examine that. But I was really alarmed when some people said some things that I just would never want to see myself as. And it brought up certain things for me that made me go like, hey, someone said I'm disingenuous is one of the things that came up. And I always saw myself as, oh, I'm so genuine. I love people. And when he said that, it was like the biggest slap in the face. But, then we kept going deeper. Why? What's going on? Just go with it. And, and I got myself crying and whatever, but it was such a powerful exercise. And I'm guessing that you go through similar stuff with your group that just helps you go deeper. And it's scary, but it's so phenomenal.
Yeah, we don't do exercises like that. Just
okay.
Distinguish Landmark from that. It's really just a conversation. It's an inquiry. So nobody has to ever raise their hand or go to the microphone or be in the middle of a circle or anything. It's really, they just sit in a chair and listen or raise their hand if they want. Every once in a while, they talk to a person next to them to share what they're getting or what they're seeing, in that conversation. But for the most part.
You there? I lost you. You there, Josselyne? I don't hear you. Josselyne? I'm not hearing you right now.
Hello?
Oh,
yes,
I got
lose you?
I got you back.
So
Yeah.
sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. So anyway, voluntary sharing of people in a group of anywhere from 80 to 200 people, sometimes more. In India, we have very large, and Bangkok, very large forums. And so some people never share at all. They just sit, listen, and get the whole thing just as easily as the people who share a lot.
Wow. Can I ask you how, and this is something I heard from going to seminars for business and whatever. One guy standing up there said, we're teaching you stuff that, you're learning here, you're excited about, but then you got to go home and then now you got to use this stuff for your business, your life.
Yeah.
How do they incorporate and keep it up? Do you have
It's a good question. Yeah. We actually include in the tuition of the forum a 10-session coaching series that's also with, a group of people. And it meets like 3 times a month so that you have support over the following 3 months to implement what you got in the forum in your life, because that's critical.
Yes. And I found that's the most important part for me, because I've gone to so many self-help programs since, and you're so excited and jazzed when you're there, but then you get into real life and you start dropping the stuff and the new habits you learn, because it's hard to integrate them. And to have that support system is awesome, because I think you need a period of time to really integrate it into your life.
You do. And one of the things that people report out of our education is years later, it's as vibrant, which is different than a lot of programs where it's like a big burst and then it shuts down again. People report lasting results, which is very unusual for programs like that. And that's one of the things that really works about the work that we do, because we shift how you see life. You don't have to remember stuff or strategize about stuff. It just leaves you naturally in action on the things that matter to you, in a sense of freedom and power and self-expression.
So in other words, if I'm understanding, it's really more intuitive and really just bringing you back to what you already know.
It takes away what's in the way. So we disappear barriers. We don't do self-help, because we come from that you're already perfect. You don't need help. You just need to disappear what's in the way of you and your real you. Like Michelangelo was asked, I've been told, I'm not that old, but I've been told he was asked, how did you create David? And he said, I didn't create David. I just chipped away at everything that wasn't David so David could emerge. And that's how I view the work that we do in the curriculum. We chip away at everything that isn't you, that you've been relating to as you, like, well, I'm shy, or I'm afraid, or I'm this. And we get it all. Yeah, we get rid of it so that you can be free to be who you really are, just free to be and free to act, and ongoingly free to create your life, your living, yourself right now and right now and right now. It's unbelievable. It's the best thing I ever did in my whole life. Let's put it that way.
I can hear that. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, Josselyne, please let everyone know again how they can get involved today, change their lives. How can they do that?
Sure. Go to landmarkworldwide.com, and there'll be lots of opportunities to either participate in programs. You can watch videos. You can see an introduction. You can read press articles and get all the information you need to come and participate with us.
Ah, this is awesome. Well, I have to thank you for sharing your great wisdom today. It's such an important message. We need to get real with ourselves so we can live our best authentic lives and bring our gifts and talent to the world to the fullest, because we've got them we've got them inside of us. We just have to pull them out, get rid of all this mess that is confusing us and getting in the way. And you guys are going to help them. And I thank you so much for sharing your wisdom today, Josselyne, on Savvy Business Radio.
Savvy Business Radio broadcasts worldwide via a large podcast network, celebrating business owners, entrepreneurs, influencers, and successful individuals. Find out about our paid sponsorship opportunities or how to become a guest. Call 732-474-7375 or email Christina@savvybusinessradio.com.